Okay, I do believe I am live. Uh, had a little bit of a snafu. Is that the word you use in a case like this? I had a little bit of a problem. I have a problem when I'm doing live streams and I'm not using StreamYard. StreamYard is the one I usually use. Hopefully, some people will be able to understand what's going on and maybe explain. I really don't know. I have to look into this. The whole thing is when I do a live stream, what I like to do is I like to have a live stream and I like to have a thumbnail that says in advance, Mr. Mayo is going live, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'm a little early, by the way. It's 3:55, 3:56. Mr. Mayo's going live Eastern time, and I have a thumbnail there that says it. You probably saw it. Okay. And that's what I want to do. And a lot of times I'll schedule that on my phone. I'll take my mobile phone, and I will go ahead and schedule it. And this I schedule everything on my phone because my laptop, which I'm on now, the laptop needs I need a new laptop because the keys are destroyed and some of the keys don't work. So I schedule everything here on my phone. And then when it comes time to go live, I can't connect the two because there's a difference apparently when you're using this is when you're using regular YouTube. When you're using regular YouTube, if you scheduled the live stream on your phone, you can't do it on the computer or the web, as they call it. You have to schedule it right from the web, I guess. I don't know. The only way that I know how to get a thumbnail that advertises in advance is to do StreamYard. And StreamYard's what I usually use. I don't always want to use StreamYard. The reason I don't always want to use StreamYard is because I just don't want to use all of the space on StreamYard. You have limited space on there. So I don't really want to use StreamYard if I can help it. And it's to me, it's a confusing thing. Maybe to you, you understand what I'm trying to get at. Uh, I want to find a way to pre-schedule a live stream from the laptop, not my phone, on regular YouTube. And then when the time comes, I can just access it. Let's just start it because it doesn't seem to work. But anyway, I wasted a lot of time, it seems, on that. So we have some people here. Hello, we got about 25 people so far, and I see we have Yakking with Friends. Hello. We have Dino. Hello. And this business of what I'm doing right here, where I'm doing my live Q&A, catch up with Mayo. This is something that I want to try to do every week. A lot of times, I'll go live or just whenever I feel like going live. If I feel like going live, I go live. And that's usually what I do. But I am going to try to schedule it once a week. And I like this time Saturday around 4 p.m., give or take. It could be an hour earlier or an hour later, but somewhere around this time, 3, 4, 5 p.m. on Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time. So this is going to be my catch up with Mayo time, hopefully, uh, for the summer. Okay. So let me know what you think of it. You can't please everybody. I realize that, there's going to be some people who are not going to be able to make it any time that I do it. But 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern is a good time because it's 4 o'clock is not too bad Eastern time, and in England it's nine p.m., which is not too bad either. And people like Kit O'Toole, hello Kit, is here. Kit O'Toole, who's a few hours, 2 or 3 hours behind me, it's not too bad there. It's like 1 o'clock where she is, or two or something like that. So hello to people I missed, Gary of Gary's Comics and Movies. Hello to JD Thompson, Jill. Hello, Jill. Good to see you here. I'm glad you're tuned in. Peter Boothroyd and Mike Bass and MC 1964, Mick 1964. Let's see. Mike Bass says, "Hi Joe, I heard you say in another live chat that you met Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. Could you tell me the story? I'd love to hear it." Well, I'd love to tell it. I was working at a printing job at the time in 1993. It wasn't a very good job, and I was watching the live news at like 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it was, and it said today live in our studio in New York City at the NBC building, we're going to have the Odd Couple, Jack Klugman, Tony Randall. I'm a huge fan of the Odd Couple, and I said, well, I'm not missing this opportunity, so I was working at a job, but I called in. I said I can't make it today, and I went on the train. I went into Manhattan, and there they were. Almost as soon as I got there, they were finishing their show, and they came out of the elevator, and I managed to get a photograph with Tony Randall. It was very nice, and I managed to get both of their autographs. I got Tony Randall's autograph, and I got Jack Klugman's, but I didn't get a photo with Jack Klugman. That's the only thing. But I did get a photo with Tony Randall, and it was weird because Jack Klugman had the throat cancer, and he had the surgery, and he talked with a raspy voice. And I don't know. I said something stupid like, "Hey, Mr. Klugman, you think maybe I could get a picture with you and Tony Randall, the odd trio?" And he goes, "I don't know about that." He didn't sound too happy with that, but he did give me an autograph. Tony Randall was really cool. Mick 64 says the picture right now, my picture doesn't seem as clear as it normally does. Anybody else have any opinion on that? Well, I think the reason could be, well, there's a few reasons for that. First of all, I'm not on StreamYard. I'm on YouTube. Sometimes I think that StreamYard is clearer than YouTube. I'm working right off the YouTube system. A lot of times when you see me, I work here. I use my mobile phone camera to go live. So Jill says it looks good to her. Yeah. So here I am. And all right. And Pirate Gamer Boy Hello says, hello, and wow, to your latest video. I can't actually recall a single time I've ever turned a movie off that quickly. He's referring to the movie Renfield, which I watched the first 10 to 15 minutes of it, and it was so bad. I hated what I saw so much in the first 10 or 15 minutes, I decided not to watch anymore. And that never happens. I usually see a movie through, on its own terms. I'll give it a chance. I hated the big 10 or 15 minutes of Renfield so much I shut it off. And he's referring to my other channel. If you're not subscribed, please do. I have a movie channel where I do movie reviews. The movie channel is called Mayo's Movie Marquee, and over there I put up a video. It wasn't a full review because I'm firm in that I do not review movies if I don't see the whole movie. I don't It's not a movie review. It's just a story of how I watched the first 10 or 15 minutes and shut it off. I have no idea if it got better or worse. I just didn't want to see it anymore. It was really pretty horrible. I didn't like it. Hello, Anne. What's going on? Uh, you got on early today, Anne. Yes, and I'm going to try to do, as I said earlier. This is going to be the time I'm going to do these chats. Hopefully, it's good. I'm going to try to do them Saturdays, like now. I'm going to try to do them around 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Sometimes it'll be 5 p.m. Sometimes it'll be 3:30. But I think around this time. So hopefully it'll work for a lot of people here. Uh, Anyway, yeah, Ann says, I thought you were just doing this channel. I know, I know, I know. I'm not. So, two channels. If you want movie reviews, go over there. And if it changes back, it changes back. But I don't think it's going to change this time. I know you don't believe me, but I wouldn't. That's okay. I wouldn't believe me either if I were you. I would, because at this point, who knows? Now Mick 64 says Jack Klugman, from what I've read, was always like that. A nice guy, but a little cranky. And it was funny because when I asked Jack Klugman for his autograph, I didn't have it had a bag, and it was still in the item I wanted signed was still in the bag. And when I started to get it out, he sounded like Oscar Madison. He goes, "You mean you haven't got it out yet? Come on, will you?" Like that. It was almost like he was putting on a shtick, but I don't think he was. I thought he was a little perturbed, but he sounded just like one of his characters. Come on, will you? We're late. Hey, so we gotta go down to another show. Come on, get it out, will you? Like that. So I thought, I don't know, it was all right. It was all right. I wish I had a photo with him, but you know. Mike Bass enjoyed my Fokker reviews. I reviewed Meet the Parents, I reviewed Meet the Fockers, and I reviewed Little Fockers, and those are the three Robert De Niro movies, comedies with Ben Stiller that are over on my movie channel, Mayo's Movie Marquee. So, okay, let's see. I don't know what we're. Let's see. Let's see. JL Draw. Hello. He says confirmed on the new Beatles song. All four Beatles are present on the track that's going to come out. You know, which is probably. Is it confirmed that it's now and then? Has that been definitely confirmed? Hello, Ralph Gomez. He says, "Hi, Joe. So what's left of the Beatles besides early deluxe box sets, Blu-ray, Shea Stadium, cartoon collection, Peter Jackson? Please, what do you think is left?" Well, all the things you say. There's a lot of concerts left to be released if they want. The cartoons, the Beatles cartoons, whatever Peter Jackson can help out with his system that he called Mal. Everybody's, it's really AI now, I guess, but the Mal system. So whatever that is, there's lots of stuff to be released, obviously. Hello, Rod Patel. How you doing? I think the Beetle cartoons are long overdue as well. Absolutely. Mike Bass says he was watching a Don video and just realized that Don reminds him a lot of Jack Klugman the way he talks. Have I ever thought the same? Never. I can't understand Don. It's getting harder and harder. But no, he doesn't sound like he's had a throat operation. Speaking of which, it's hard for me to do these things. I cough a lot between allergies and other stuff. Ah, fresh water. So, what's going on, folks? I'm still nursing. I'm just doing this to fill up time. A week ago today, 7 days ago today, I had a molar extracted here. And I always tell everybody, it's nothing new. I've had molars extracted back up here. I think two back in the back. So I've had these things done before and there's been no problem at all. In fact, it healed pretty fast. But this one that I got done 7 days ago, s- it hurts a bit. Not a lot. It's gotten better. And it's basically I haven't eaten every time I eat on the good side. I haven't yet chewed on this, and I'm not going to for a while. But it's just like you know, when I move around, talk, yawn and stuff, I can feel like discomfort and slight pain. And I don't think I should. It's been a week. Now maybe it takes 2 weeks. I don't know. I've never had an extraction hurt that long. But then again, this was an exceptional extraction where they had to give me several shots of Novocaine first, and I did have a severe infection. As a matter of fact, the guy told me, the oral surgeon told me that I was just a small step away from total abscess. It was not complete abscess or abscess. I didn't got into abscess, whatever he called it, but it was almost there. So it was, I don't expect it to take 2 days, but it's already been a week. A week. I did go to check. I had it done last Saturday. That's a week ago. 4 days later on Wednesday, I saw him again just to have him look at it, and he said it seems to be improving. He looked at it, the infection. He said it seems to be improving. On Wednesday, he told me that. So now that was, 3 days ago. So I'm going to give it a little more chance. Yeah, maybe because it was so infected, that's why it's going on. But it's been a while, and not as fast as I wanted it to be. So I'm just avoiding it. I mean, I'm chewing everything on this side, nothing on this side. But you get the picture. Okay, Felix Unger's sinuses. Mike Bass has Felix Unger. Speaking of Felix Unger, ah, here we go. Here we go again. Now, a report on the end of the compact disc, the end of the CD. Manufacturers are discontinuing the players. Sony, who invented it, no longer make any. He said, "Backup, get a backup while you can." Yada yada yada. You may be right, or the person you're talking about, Techmoan, may be right. But you know what? I've heard this before so many times. I don't believe it. You'll always be able to play CDs. You'll always be able to, even if you have to play them in your DVD players or 4K players or Blu-ray player, you play them. So I don't know about that. I will see about that. Paul McCartney mentioned recently that his favorite bass guitar line that he played was being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. He also mentioned that it was hard to play and sing it live. Well, then don't do it. It's John's song anyway. I'm sorry to tell you, but um, okay. Marcus, hello, says I've seen some videos of the McCartney and Conan O'Brien chat online, and it seems like a good time. In the clips I've seen, he says a lot of the same things, but also some different stuff. Opened up a bit more. Good. I think Conan is a big Beatle fan. Hopefully, with his knowledge, he was able to open Paul up a little more. Speaking of the McCartney and Conan O'Brien chat, that's going to be our next Talk More Talk. If you don't know, I have another show that I'm on. It's a show called Talk More Talk. I do it with my co-host Kid O'Toole, Tom Hunyadi, and Ken Michaels. And we're going to have a couple of special guests with us this time. So it's going to be the four of us plus two special guests. And the subject is going to be talking about our two guests went to that Conan O'Brien, Paul McCartney gig. So they're going to be telling us their experiences going to see the show live. And also, we're going to talk about the book that he has, Eyes of the Storm, McCartney's book, which that's why he was on the Conan show. He was talking about that, or the Conan. It wasn't the Conan show, right? It was just Conan was hosting, the host of the talk. But anyway, so that's Talk More Talk. It's this Monday night. It's live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. All right. So if you haven't subscribed to Talk More Talk and you like Beatles and solo Beatles, it's mostly a solo Beatles video cast. We talk about solo Beatles mostly. It's Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast, but we also talk about Beatles stuff once in a while. So you just both. And please check it out on YouTube, Talk More Talk. I'm glad that Anne agrees with me about CDs. Yeah, Mystery Train says they're getting rid of AM radio. Well, I'm a fan of AM radio. It's funny these days when I'm in a car, if I'm not playing a CD, I'm listening to AM talk shows. Believe it or not, I guess that happens as you get older. What do I know? But that's what starts happening. Oh, there's actually an AM station that I like that plays a lot of good oldies music. So I do like AM, and I've heard that from what I heard, Mystery Train is that they've agreed not to end the AM. They said they're going to keep doing it. That whoever it was that made that decision, they decided against it. They decided to keep AM. However, then later I found out that that was only going to be going on for a year. In other words, they've allowed AM to continue, but for 1 year. That's what I heard. I can say, can you say, I feel so clean in Klugman's voice? Yes, I can. There was a movie called The Odd Couple Together Again from 1993, and he goes, "This is going to hurt my throat, but I'll try to do it." My girlfriend tells me you got to do it the upper register. Don't do it down in here because this is where I have problems. Sometimes got to do it up. I feel so clean. All right, there you go. And yeah, JD Thompson Jill says one of my employees used to argue that CDs would be extinct in a few years back in like 2008. Laugh out loud. Yeah, and I heard the same thing about about DVDs and Blu-rays and books. There gonna be no more books. All the bookstores are gonna disappear. It's all nonsense. All right, all nonsense. What may happen is that it'll be hard to find that stuff. It may be hard to get that stuff. Like we know, you can't just walk into your stores. It's not all offered in brick and mortar stores. It's not offered too much in Best Buy or even Walmart anymore. It'll all be moved online, but you can get the stuff. I think what's changing is that now, two people said about the cars they have still has they still have a CD player. One person, Raymond, says his car is a 2014 and still has a CD player in it. And Jill said, my car is 2015. And Ann says, I have a 2016 car with a CD player in it. Well, supposedly, from what I learned, somewhere in 2016 is when they stopped making. That was maybe that was the last year where they had CD players. After 2016, they stopped them. I have a portable connectable CD player that I have to attach into the auxiliary, and I can play it that way because my car's a 2019, and they stopped making CDs. That's one of the most disgusting things that they stopped. That really pisses me off. But Mike Bass, I'm glad that I was able to give you a laugh with that Jack Klugman quote. David brings up something I saw a little of that too. I think I saw most of that. David says, I recently caught Yoko's guest appearance on a 1995 episode of the sitcom Mad About You. I've seen that too. She delivered some very funny lines like a pro, despite a storyline that relentlessly mocked her idea of art. Yeah, I gotta say, people who defend Yoko like me, sometimes we don't need to because Yoko takes it better than anybody. Yoko just plays along with it and says, just the heck with you. And she just goes right along with it. But I did see that. Isn't there at the end of that, David? Isn't the scene at the end? They're sitting in bed with Yoko and Give Peace a Chance is playing during the end. I remember seeing that a while ago. Woodland Goblin, hello. Woodland says, I drive a brand new car, so mine doesn't have a CD player, but I don't need one. All you have to do is use Bluetooth. That's all. No, I don't like Bluetooth because I like to have my physical disc played. I'm just a physical media guy, and I like to own a collection. Pull out the one I want and put in a player. That's just me. So, you know, there you go. Oh, unless I apologize to Woodland if what Jill's saying is what he was trying to say. A portable CD player with Bluetooth would hook up to the car and play through the car speakers without cords, except power. All right, I gotcha. All right, but the thing is, so far I'm still able to play them, and that's okay with me. So, all right, what's going on, folks? We got 60. I'm going to try something that somebody does. We have 65 people here, but only 10 likes. Smash that like button. Help the algorithm. Hit that like button. Thumbs up. Help me out a little bit here with the algorithm. Smash the button. People say that. I always think it's kind of funny when they say that, but it can't hurt. I think when you hit the like button, it helps. You know, I personally don't always hit the like button because if I do, I think that kind of like once you hit a like, doesn't it like it becomes I don't know, something happens. I don't know. I think it stays as a video in your file. It's not like you want. I don't want to turn anybody off to the idea. Wow, it's amazing. All I got to do is say, please hit the like button. Thank you, everybody. We're going up. We're up to 24, 67 viewers and 24 likes. That's pretty good. So thanks. I realize you can't get all 67, but if you can get close to half, that's nice. So thank you for that. Um, Physical media guys will be the last guys standing, just like the Omega Man, Rod says. And thank you, Rod, for helping me get that Omega Man. I appreciate that. All right. When I start watching the Batman movies, where will I start? The '90s ones, Zero's trilogy. Well, I saw Batman from 1989 with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. I saw that in the theater. I liked that very much. I saw Batman Returns with Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and I think I saw Batman Forever, and so I don't know where I'll start. I'll probably start with that series, the 1980s into the early 90s, and I did see Batman Begins, you know, so I don't. I'll get them done. Martin McGrath. Let's see. Martin McGrath says, "I'll tell you why Free as a Bird and Real Love and the new song aren't Beatles songs." Here we go. Martin's of the opinion, and that's okay, Martin. Please, by all means, as long as you're respectful, please air your opinion. People think if I disagree, I don't want people here. Nonsense. This is about debate. I like debate. But he always says, "I'll tell you why these aren't Beatles songs." When anyone asks what the last Beatles song was, I'll be saying "Long and Winding Road" or "Let It Be," not this new one. I don't care. I really don't care, Martin. If that's your opinion, fantastic. But the only ones who can decide whether it's a Beatles song, as in my opinion, are Paul, Ringo, George when he was alive. You know, George, Paul, and Ringo said, "This is the Beatles. We're gonna put this out as the Beatles. We're gonna get together for two songs and put them out on the Beatles label. We're reuniting for two songs." John wasn't here, but Yoko spoke for John, and the same kind of thing now. Olivia now is speaking for George, and also, of course, Yoko or Sean speaking on behalf of John. Now, when all four are gone, when we lose Paul and we lose Ringo, I don't know if the whole family's going to get to decide what's Beatles and what's not. That'll be a different argument. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, but yeah. Let's see. Earth says, "I find it curious that you like walking in the mall when there's no one, and I like it when it's full of as full as possible." Well, when I'm walking in the mall for the purposes of being able to walk with nobody in my way to get exercise, I prefer it to be kind of empty. Not It doesn't have to be totally empty. There's always a handful of other walkers in there, but I don't need it mobbed like on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon where you can't move. What sense would that make? You know. Um. What are my thoughts on Disney changing the French Connection? A real crime. Yeah. It's a sensitive topic. We got to play that game. If you go over to my movie channel, this is what I would advise you to do. I'll answer your question a little bit, but go over to my movie channel and watch last Tuesday's in the live section. Hit the live section. We do a live movie talk. That's another thing. If you like this and you like movies and TV too, please on Tuesdays on my movie channel, which is called Mayo's Movie Marquee, we do a live chat. There are at least four of us usually, four or five of us, and we're up there and we talk about this. And there's Gary right there. Gary's Comics and Movies, who's watching this. He's one of the regulars. Hi, Gary, and he contributes a lot. He contributes a lot of information and opinions. And we talked about that French Connection situation, and I'm not happy about it. That's about all I could say. But if you want to see more detail, please watch the show on my Mayo's Movie Marquee channel, the live movie Mayo's Movie Talk from last Tuesday. Okay. Martin says Paul McCartney's not the Beatles, and he's calling the shots. He's not the only one calling the shots. If Ringo didn't agree, and George and Olivia and Yoko didn't agree, it wouldn't be happening. So he's not only calling the shots. For some reason, I'm not able to scroll here anymore, and I'm not too happy about that. That's bad if I can't see. This happened once before. I can't scroll to the top. So anyway, if I miss any of your questions and you want to put them back, please do. If there's a question, I can't respond to all comments, like just general comments, but questions I like to try to address. Do I like Ringo's song "Blink"? I just heard it in a movie. I don't even know where that's from right now. It's escaping me. Yeah, Earth, I can't get the rest of your question. I can't read the rest of your question. You say the recent interview a few days ago, I mean. Uh, well, Martin wants to debate. I got to be honest with you, Martin. You're entitled to your opinion. By all means, please express it. However, on my channel, 99% of the comments had no problem with the new song coming out. So I don't know what else to tell you about it. Uh, all right. Uh, uh, F F revisionism. Martin says, and Paul is at it way too much. And JL Draw says this new song is Paul's project, though. He tells us he's been working on it for several years, although Jackson AI Tech was deemed a breakthrough. Yeah, I know Paul has said that he's wanting to do this, but I still believe that if the other Beatles were not in favor of it, even if it's his pet project and he wants it to happen, if the other three camps didn't want it, would you agree that he probably wouldn't have done it? Um, do I think Now and Then will be part of an anthology remaster? I don't know. I'm gonna doubt it. Kid O'Toole says, sorry if this has already been said, but Sean Lennon issued a statement saying John's vocal is only being cleaned up, not being replaced by AI. So he's obviously fine with this. Thank you, Kit. I had not heard that. So I appreciate that. Yes. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's being cleaned up, not replaced. I got to tell you something, folks, and I'm going to admit this. Whenever the subject of Now and Then has come up, the third song of the Beatles anthology years, I never really talked too much about it because I never really played it much. Never really got familiar with it. So now that this has been coming out, this news, I've been playing it a few times, and you know what? I don't like it. I do not like it. I can understand why George Harrison didn't want it. If that's the case, if George didn't want it, I do not like it. And I'm really hoping that whatever they do, it turns out to be a good song, that they enhance it somehow because it's going to be a bad song in my opinion. But I'm not gonna, of course I'm not going to judge that until I see it. Uh Latest news, JL Draw says there's no Rubber Soul, no anthology this year. There hasn't been any buzz about Rubber Soul this year, aside from fan speculation. Well, but Giles Martin, I believe, though, did say it'll be the next one. He didn't say when, but I think he did say it'll be the next one. Am I right about that? Did I watch the recent Conan O'Brien and McCartney interview? No. I watched. I know that sounds terrible. What do you mean? Folks, I got interviews back here like you wouldn't believe. I got interviews, bootlegs, every country the Beatles and solo Beatles ever spoke in from 1962 all the way up to like the 2020s. But lately I watched a little bit of it, a little bit of the discussion with Paul on Conan. I'm gonna watch more of it in time for Talk More Talk. We're doing a Talk More Talk show. I had talked about that earlier, just so Kit knows I did cover that. But I will be more acquainted with it then. But it's getting to be the same old, with Paul. So it's hard to get excited about listening to it. Darren Gamble, hello. Hello to Syndicate. Syndicate. I don't know how to say it. You see, that Martin just doesn't stop. He says, "I will excuse this because of Paul's age," but he wouldn't have tried any of this when John was alive because he knows John would have stopped it. I'm going to say sound passionate here, Martin. You don't know anything. I don't know anything. None of us knows what John Lennon would have done at the age if he was still alive at the age of 82. None of us knows what John Lennon at 80 would think, or at 50 or 60 or 70. You can't just take John at the age of 40. And because John had these kinds of feelings and thoughts at 40, just assume he would have carried them for the next 40 years. You don't know that. There was a time when George and Ringo and Paul couldn't be bothered reheating the Beatles. Paul said you can't reheat a souffle, Paul, there was a time. So you don't really know that. John would never have allowed that. You have no idea, but I'm saying I have no idea. You may be right, and I may be wrong. Who knows? But John's not alive. Okay, Dave Pounds weighs in. I kind of agree with Martin on this, Joe. There's really no reason for Paul to release a Frankenstein song. Well, I disagree at this point. I really didn't care. Anytime people would say, "Oh, what about now and then? What about now and then?" I didn't care. But now that it's going to happen, I just hope it's good. Well, if it's good and enjoyable, I'm fine. But I'm okay with it now. I'm okay with it. Mike Bass says, as you know, I've been dazzled by Ringo Starr's song Free Your Soul from the new EP3. What are four more songs from his recent EPs you would recommend? Coming Undone from Change the World. Coming Undone is very good. It's kind of a little westerny kind of sound to it. And man, the whole first EP, I can't remember them all right now. The first EP, Zoom In, I like that whole thing. Hello, James Gracia. It's getting hard to see comments, and I don't know why I cannot zoom up. I can't go up to the comments. Once they get cut off, I can't see the top anymore, so I gotta go pretty fast. Well, see, I gotta step in. Woodland Goblin says, "Hey, Martin, stop picking on Paul. What the hell?" See, that I don't agree with either because it's okay. People are allowed to criticize Paul McCartney and John Lennon and George Harrison and Ringo and Yoko. I just say, my whole thing is do it with, civility. Do it in a civil way. But of course, you're allowed to be against the decisions Paul's making. You know, I don't agree with Martin on this particular one, but and Kid O'Toole reminds us, remember, George was in a very different place during the anthology. Would he have changed his mind about now and then today? Who knows? Exactly, same thing. You can't say, well, George didn't want now and then in 1994 or five, so therefore, 30 years later, he doesn't want it. He wouldn't want it either. You don't know. You just don't know. In terms of production, do you like Star Wars or Star Trek better? I like Star Trek better than Star Wars in every respect. Now, Martin McGrath says this will be a Lennon song, not a Lennon McCartney song. Well, if Paul writes some extra verses and some extra music and changes it a bit, it'll be a Lennon and McCartney song. You know, the origins of it are a John Lennon demo. Also, remember that George's rubbish comment was filtered through McCartney. George Harrison never commented publicly on Now and Then. His opinion was related by McCartney. Okay, that's something we could consider. Anne loves the new Paul book, the photo book, right? And here we go again. Martin says Get Back, the movie Get Back, only came out because there was no George. And let's not forget. Thank God it did. Okay, we don't know. We don't know. You're doing it again. You're assuming. How do you know that George? Do you know Martin, Paul, and Ringo saw the Get Back footage that Peter Jackson said, and there was a lot of happy footage. And he said, and it changed their minds about those sessions. Paul and Ringo both went on record giving interviews saying, we thought it was gloom and doom the whole time, but after seeing this footage, we realized we actually were friends and we were getting along, and this and that and the other thing. So, how do you know that if George Harrison and John Lennon were alive at the time and they saw the footage from Get Back, how do you know that they wouldn't agree and say, hey, you know what? This wasn't as bad as I remember. Plays all right. You don't know that. But hey, if you want, you just, people, a lot of people do what you're doing. A lot of people do that. They say, well, this is what they went on record as saying that then. So, I mean, John Lennon changed his mind like he changed his socks. He changed his mind all the time, John. The John Lennon from 1940 was not the same John Lennon in 19. Excuse me, John Lennon at age 40 was not the same John Lennon at age 20. He just was 23 or 25. He just wasn't. Chances are the John Lennon at age 50, 60, 70, or 80 would not have been the same John Lennon as age 40. Yeah, Mike Bass says that was a story going around that George said on his deathbed, "Don't ever let it be get released." I don't know if that's true or not. The rumors have gone around that it was the George Harrison camp. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'd heard it was the Harrison estate that was not as keen. Everybody thought it was Yoko who didn't want Let It Be out, the old Let It Be, talking about the 1970 Let It Be, and that it was the Lennon camp, or the Harrison, or the I'm sorry, the Lennon camp or the McCartney camp. Even McCartney maybe they thought didn't want it out because he didn't look too good in Let It Be. But although now Get Back really shines his reputation, Paul, perfectly. He's the man in Get Back. But it turned out, I think, to be the Harrison camp, if I'm not mistaken, from what I understand. Earth asked me, "Are you collecting something in your collection that you're planning to sell at some point?" No, I don't. I never collect anything just for the purpose of selling down the line in the future. It's not my. Someday sell things that I didn't intend to sell. It's not. I don't buy with intent to sell. Let's put it that way. If it turns out that way, so be it. Okay, I'm reading. JL Draw makes a good point. Well, one of the things about Get Back uh, is that George Harrison looks a lot better. George Harrison in that little scuffle that he has with Paul that everybody knows. George looks much better in Get Back. He looks like he's really trying to work at it with Paul. He's really trying to help out and be game. Like he's a little, and Paul's like, "Let's forget about this," and George's like, "No, let's finish this first. Let's do it." So George actually looks better in that scuffle with Paul in Get Back than he did previously, in my opinion. Yeah, Martin McGrath pays a lot of things too much mind. Like Martin McGrath, you love scandal and turmoil on the internet. You say the last words on George's deathbed I'm hearing through the grapevine was that he said, "Don't release now and then." Oh, you're laughing. You're putting. See, here you go. This is what happens. He's putting the laughing symbol, so he's probably kidding. But you don't always know that right away when you're reading. It's harder when you're reading comments other than speaking. Now, Kid O'Toole says, "I wonder if we'll ever see Let It Be, since Get Back definitely portrays them all in a better light. It's still part of history, though. I'd like to see it," she says. And I agree with you, and I do think we'll get Let It Be. But now I feel, after having Get Back is so good. Get Back is so wonderful that I can wait for Let It Be. I'm in no I don't care if it takes another 5 years or more. You can put Let It Be out after all this, because it is my feeling, and I will stick by this now. Michael Lindsay Hogg, I think he denies this, but I believe that Michael Lindsay Hogg set out to make a negative breakup movie. The Beatles were breaking up. He figured, well, I'm gonna make a movie, Let It Be, telling about the breakup. So I think he used all the negative bits, a lot of the negative bits, not all, to kind of fashion a falling apart story. That's what I think. David Fishman, hello. What's my favorite Beatles possession? Probably my Paul McCartney autograph and my Ringo Starr autograph. And again, I have to tell you that for some reason that I don't understand, I can't scroll. I only see like a small amount of comments towards the bottom. I can't scroll up on questions I've missed. So if anything important, or please just retype it. Sorry about that. Uh, yes, Teach Me to Tango. Coming Undone is good. You enjoyed that, and Teach Me to Tango. I like that too. Woodland says Martin is a John lover, so he takes jabs at Paul and George, no problem. Well, I've seen you, since you're a Paul lover, take jabs at John and George, no problem. This childishness. What are you going to do? What do you think the next Paul or Ringo should be, or what motivate you to buy something from them? Anything they want to do, pretty much I'll buy. I don't buy everything. I didn't buy the Hey Grand Dude book. I didn't buy All Things Must Grass, the marijuana George thing. There's lots of things I don't buy. You ever gonna save and get a John Lennon autograph? I'm sure I'll get a John Lennon autograph. The problem I have with that is it's hard. To get an authentic John. I think a lot of times the forgeries on John are too good. I never saw John Lennon out and about in New York City. I should have. I had plenty of opportunity to see John in New York City, but I just never took the plunge, and it's too late. One of my big regrets in life. Uh, Yeah, Mike Bass says, "Is Let It Be really that depressing though? Apart from the short scuffle with Paul and George, I feel like people blow it out of proportion. I get a very depressed, gray feeling from it overall. Not just the scuffle. I just think the scuffle is the highlight of it, but there's a lot of stuff like that that was wrongly portrayed in the Michael Lindsay Hogg movie, and especially I'm going to be missing a lot of comment. If I talk too much, I'm going to be missing a lot of comments." Especially, hello to Tom Hunyadi, by the way. So please, if I miss a lot of these, repeat your questions because they're moving and I'm going to miss them. They're on the top and I can't scroll up. But there's a scene in Let It Be where Paul is talking. You see the back of Paul's head and he's talking and talking and talking. And John's like, he's yawning, he's stretching, it's like falling asleep. He's like, doesn't say a word. That's the way Michael Lindsay Hogg put that in Let It Be. Because if you watch that same scene as portrayed more accurately in Get Back with Peter Jackson, you will see not just John and Paul in that scene, but all the Beatles and George Martin. And they're all sitting there. It's not just John and Paul one on one. And Paul is actually the one, when you see all the footage, actually trying to find a way not to go on the roof, and maybe they're not ready. Maybe they should do this. And John's like, let's just do it. Let's just take what we got and do it, man. John is actually more positive. If you never saw that footage and Get Back and you just watched it as it appeared in Let It Be, you would think that that's the way it is. John doesn't want to talk to Paul anymore. That's not what apparently not what happened when you see Get Back. I don't know about if Billy Joel is officially over with his Madison Square Garden yet. Daniel Bean, hello. Okay. And doesn't feel Let It Be was so depressing. I mean, it's got moments in there. But another reason to see it is you see more of the rooftop than you do really. It's not with all the multi cameras as it is with Jackson's on Let It Be. You get to see more. And there are some things in Let It Be that you don't see in Get Back, So and some things you see longer. There's more footage of some things. I haven't heard anything else about the John and Yoko and Mike Douglas show. Was supposed to be a documentary about that. Yes, I haven't heard anything else. Who is the most nutty of all the Beatles? I guess John, the nuttiest Beatle, I would think. Mike says John wasn't against reuniting. Wasn't he game by 73? He changed his mind back and forth. So that's why you never know. Have I ever watched Get Back on my new 4K TV yet? No, not yet. I have not seen it yet. I'm kind of overdosed on Get Back. I've seen it several times already. David Fishman's second favorite artist is Jim Croce. Do I have a second? There's a lot of people I like, but second favorite, I don't know. I mean, you got Elvis, you got Joan Jett, you've got the Rolling Stones, and Tom Petty. So I don't really know who my second favorite would be. I got a lot of other favorites. Yeah, I still see Don at the record store. I saw him there today. Absolutely. Bob Dylan, yes, I like Bob Dylan. You asked me Go-Go's or Bangles. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I want to say Go-Go's, but well, it's tough because I think the Bangles have more songs that I like, but the Go-Go's, I don't know. That's a tough one. They're kind of equal. What's my favorite Bob Dylan album? James asks. I have a bunch. I'm going to name them: Highway 61 Revisited, Bringing It All Back Home, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, Infidels, Slow Train Coming, and Tempest from 2012. Those are among my favorite Bob Dylan albums. I don't know if Ted Nugent is friends with Joan Jett, but I would think not. And Peter Boothroyd's asking me any plans for episode 100 yet. We're trying. He's talking about the record store video series. I'm up to episode. The next episode will be number 100 in the record store series, and I really don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't know. We're talking about maybe taking Don out to dinner. Me and Joe and maybe Corey and Don going out to dinner and see what happens. It's with the four of us, but I don't really know. We don't really know. It just may turn out to be just a regular video, no fanfare or anything. Um, well, Tom Hunyadi likes the Fablemans. I know that. I didn't see it. Yeah, Blonde on Blonde is not one of my favorite Dylan albums. I mean, I like a bunch of songs off it. And I always say the problem with that is, for me, Blonde on Blonde, I think that's where Dylan really exaggerates his thing more than ever. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm not that thrilled with it. Rick Brandon says, for him, Joan Jett's Crimson and Clover and You Don't Own Me are better than the originals. Do you agree? No, I don't. As much as I love Joan Jett, as much as I love her renditions of Crimson and Clover and You Don't Own Me, I definitely think that I prefer. When I say prefer, yeah, I'll say prefer. I prefer Tommy James and Shondel's version of Crimson and Clover, and I prefer Leslie Gore singing "You Don't Own Me." I definitely prefer Leslie Gore more than Tommy James's song. But Joan does very well, in both of them, and she does great versions, and they're really close. Do you think Bob Dylan is bigger than the Beatles, or as any of the most famous solo Beatles? I don't think Bob Dylan is bigger than the Beatles. He's just as famous as the Beatles. You basically have the Beatles, Elvis Presley, and Bob Dylan, as far as I'm concerned. Those are the three big ones. And then if you want to get into the solo years, well, Paul McCartney is as big as Dylan solo, I think, but that's me. Hey, Gary loves Joan Jett too. Well, I met her a bunch of times, Gary. So she's somebody I met, got a photo with and stuff. I don't know if you have any connection to Joan Jett, Gary, but if you do, I need to meet her one more time in life. because I got her autograph several times and I got a photo with her. But there is one autograph I'd like. I never had her autograph a Runaways album, and I have a Runaways album that has Sherry Curry's autograph, has Lita Ford's autograph, and has Sandy West's autograph, the drummer. But Joan's not on that album, autographed. So I would love to meet her one more time, one more opportunity somehow to get that. I mean, I love the Rolling Stones, I do, but I don't consider them as iconic as, say, the Beatles, Elvis, and Dylan. Do I think I'll ever get George's autograph? I'd like to think that someday, I'd like to think that someday I would get, both John and George Harrison's autograph, John Lennon and George Harrison, I hope one day. But, I'm retired now. Money is not as bountiful as it might have been when I was working. I don't know, you know? Do you think so? You think that Nobel Prize given to Dylan should have been given to Paul instead? No, I don't think so. I don't even know exactly what the Nobel Prize was with Dylan. Wasn't it about his songwriting in the sense of poetry and lyrics? If it was, Paul is more, like I said, this is this old argument that drives people crazy. But Paul is a great songwriter. I think he's the best. However, he's not the best lyricist. So lyrically and poetically, I could see Dylan getting something. Gary says, I'm jealous. I would die to meet Joan Jett. I'm very good friends with Sherry Curry, though. Uh, is Gary friends with everyone? Apparently not. He just said he doesn't know Joan Jett personally. David Henson says, I got George's autograph as part of the 50 Years Adrift book by Derek Taylor. He signed all the copies. Good work. All right. Daniel says, if I'm going to listen to Bob Dylan, either be through the Turtles or the Birds. Now, I get it. I get it. I was the same way early. When I was like 18, 17 or 18, I was the same way. But I'm not saying it's because you haven't grown up or anything. I don't mean that. I'm just telling you my personal experience. And eventually I got to like Dylan. Once you really get Dylan, then you can enjoy his voice more, believe it or not. You have to really, really get into it. If you don't get it, you don't get it, and people are offended when people say that, "Well, you don't get something." And, I hate when they do that to me too. "Oh, well, you don't get something. You don't get this." But it's true. Some people don't get Dylan. They think it's about singing. Oh, having a good singing voice. It's not. It's about his attitude, his style, his philosophies, his persona. And once you get into that about Dylan, you almost find like you like the fact that he sings like a hobo. You got to kind of like get into the persona first. But if you're not, you're not. Not everybody likes Dylan, and I get it. I get it. What do I think about Paul and Wyman on the new Stones album? Well, I heard that Paul is only going to be playing bass on one song. That's the last thing I heard. So I don't know. Well, I don't agree with that. It depends on what people define as songwriting. I still think songwriting should mostly be about music first. I think when it comes to songs, it's music first and lyrics second, really. But the best songs are oftentimes is when they pair together, when you have great lyrics and great music. Would I be upset if they brought Eric Clapton in to play on Now and Then instead of George? Yeah, I think I would. Think I would. I'm very like open-minded about the song Now and Then coming out, but I don't like the idea. I wouldn't like the idea if they had Clapton playing guitar on it. Yeah, good point. Good point. Astro Zombie says if you want to hear the snark in his voice, listen to Positively Fourth Street. That's the perfect example. Listen to the song Positively Fourth Street by Bob Dylan. It's a put down song and he's pissed at somebody. And You can't have anybody else sing that song. It's got to have Dylan's snarky, snide, whining voice in that. And he says, I think he means Adele. He says, I don't want an Adele singing that. I think you mean exactly. Adele couldn't sing positively 4th Street. Perfect example. I'm gonna use that Astro Zombie in the future. 'Cause it's a good example. Obviously, Paul has had a bigger social influence than Dylan on you, or not necessarily. Well, yeah, of course. For me personally, Paul has had a much bigger influence on me. Sure. Gary says, Joe, I assume you've seen the Runaways movie. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it that much. What I liked is I thought two things. I thought Michael Shannon was excellent as Kim Fowley. He really nailed the persona of Kim Fowley. And I thought that um, Kristen Stewart did a very admirable job as Joan Jett. That's partly because Joan Jett was on the set and she coached her in all her mannerisms and movements. So she did a very good job portraying Joan. But the movie itself, it's fairy tales, a lot of it, not all of it, because like they do so many times when they do biopics, it's tame, and then they changed it. They had to legally change the name. They had to change the name of a character. They had made a character called Robin or something that wasn't really in the band. So and they didn't have lead, and they couldn't have Lita Ford being like too nasty in it. They did this. So anyway, it wasn't really that good of a representation of the movie. Do I still own Adele's 21 album? No, that's long gone. That was long gone before I said I was gonna purge. Do I like, Dylan's American Standards period from the last decade? No, I don't. And I have a pretty extensive Dylan album on vinyl even, and CD, vinyl and CD, going from, the first self-titled Bob Dylan album in '62 all the way, through Rough and Rowdy Ways pretty much, and in between and things in between. And, I skipped over the standards. I listened to some of them. I heard some of the standards albums. There were 3 of them, right? 3 of them. Some people could say that that was 2 too many. Some people might say it was 3 too many. But, yeah, I wasn't big on those. What I consider Simon and Garfunkel in Dylan's league when it comes to lyrics, I don't know about in Dylan's league, but pretty damn close. Paul Simon is one of my favorite songwriters of all time as well. So I think Paul Simon is right up there in the top 5. Do you have Arm Distance, that first VHS you ever bought, the Beatles one, I mean, that you can show us? It's on the shelves back there. That's not Arm Distance. I'd have to get up and get it and stuff. I don't feel like that. It's up there somewhere. Let It Be. I still have it. The first VHS tape I ever bought, Let It Be. And it's still not out on DVD or Blu-ray. It's pretty funny. Who's the greatest Mets player of all time? I don't know. Tom Seaver, I would guess. Yeah, Paul Simon had with George Harrison. That was a great. It was a great appearance on Saturday Night Live. Christian. It's pretty known that I don't know if they've officially said the title that it's going to be Now and Then. But we're pretty sure that's the song. I don't think it has anybody put it down in black and white yet. That's the song. Now and Then. We're pretty sure. Hello, Tony MC. What's going on? Jill Thompson says, I like Van Morrison better than Dylan overall. Like Dylan, you either get Van or you don't. I do like some Dylan, but best of collections is good enough. Okay. Oh boy, this has been a very rigorous chat. I'm glad so many people are here. Now I know why so many people only do an hour because when you're answering a lot of questions and a lot of people here, we've had over 80 people, which is cool. I think we got up to 83 or 84 or something so far, which is good. I've had over 100 at times and so on, but not. Not in a while. Do you still own your first VHS player? No, no, no. My first VHS player was a top loader. It popped up like that. Shoved it in, snapped it down, and it was a Sylvania. It cost me $749. My very first VHS player. That was in 1982. $749 in 1982. Oh, Mike Bass had a bad experience with his shelf. He didn't latch the shelf to the wall. I don't either, and it fell recently. I mean, none of these things are latched. These shelves back here, these are not bolted to the wall. Neither are my records. But I'm just looking up to see if there's any way that I could scroll up in case I missed comments. But apparently, I can't. I can't find a way to do it. I have a. It's weird because I have a lever here, a button on this side, but I have a the lever is all the way at the bottom of the screen, and I can't move it up the bar. What would I think if Woodland Goblin ever tried pot? I couldn't care less. It's your life. It's not my thing. Jill says, I wish I had a working 8-track player just for the novelty of it. I got a nice one once at a record store, but it ended up not working. I still have a sealed copy over there. I could see it. The Bee Gees album, oh, Spirits. Spirits having whatever, it's blocked the rest of the title, but I still have it. A sealed 8-track that's supposed to come your way. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, David says he still has his first VHS player made by JVC, issued in late '77, and it cost $800. Blank tapes cost $20 back then. I mean, $20 doesn't sound like so much now, but believe me, paying $20 back then just for one tape to record on, that was pretty expensive. Yeah, Beetle Vinyl 85 posted the video of Paul with Conan. Well, I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry, Marv. Um, but yeah, I watched a segment of it. I think it was Marv that provided it. So check that out, Beetle Vinyl 85. So, what is it about the song Now and Then that I don't like? Well, it's kind of dreary and it doesn't have a catchy melody, and the singing is kind of like all over the place. It's not like steady it's kind of all up and down over the place and it's not smooth. I don't know. I just don't like it at all. What do I recommend you use on scratched Blu-rays? If your Blu-rays are scratched, I don't think know if there's anything you can do. What you do is, I mean, you can take a little Windex and put it on a soft cloth and try to go or up. You're supposed to. You don't go in circles. I believe you're not supposed to go in circles. You got to go from like the center out. Anyway, have I ever tried to meditate? I wouldn't call it meditate, but I did biofeedback a long time ago. Oh, geez. In the 1980s, I did a little biofeedback. David says there are YouTube videos on how to restore damaged Blu-rays. No, your guess is not right, Marcus. Marcus says, I know who you mean. Marcus says, my guess for one of the guests on Talk More Talk this week is that woman who sometimes appears on two legs. to review McCartney concerts. No, it's not her. I've seen her, but she's not one of the guests. Woodland had the answer I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it. He said it for me. If your Blu-ray is that scratch, just buy it, the movie again, especially if it's only 20 bucks or something. Well, maybe, but what do you do if you have a lot of Blu-rays that are messed up, not just one? Then what do you do? What's biofeedback? I don't know. Look it up. Maybe it will explain it. You used to wear you wear like a headset and there's like a buzzing sound. You try to reduce the buzzing down, get it from louder. The calmer you get, the quieter it gets. That kind of thing. I didn't spend a lot of time with it. Mike says, my city had an earthquake which caused the shelf to fall. I highly recommend that you latch your shelves. Well, I don't live in earthquake territory, so I'm not worried about that. I've heard the John Lennon demo "Mirror Mirror," but do not remember that one. I remember most of John Lennon's demos, but that's one that slipped through. That's interesting. David says, lather a generous layer of peanut butter on your Blu-ray disc. Let it sit overnight. Wash it off the next day, and your Blu-ray will be as good as new. Talk about filling the cracks, as Paul McCartney sang in "Fixing a Hole." I don't know. David could be kidding. I don't know. You guys work that out. Gary's Comics and Movies watched a new movie called 65, which didn't get the greatest reviews, but believe me, it was quite enjoyable. Do I see a major difference between 4K and Blu-ray? I do not have a 4K player, but Gary here has told me a lot about it, and Gary has said some movies look great, and some movies there's not much difference at all. So I'm not sold on 4K. I really am not. That may change, you know. I may get a 4K player and check it out, and I'll be sold. But I'm so sold on Blu-ray already. I mean, VHS was never perfect. Laserdisc was never perfect. DVD even wasn't really perfect, but Blu-ray is close to perfect. I mean, I don't know. So well, I don't know how much more huge a difference it could be, Woodland. I mean, how a difference could it be? Already we see too much. I really think Blu-rays already high definition Blu-rays already showing a lot. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap this up soon, folks. So we'll go maybe a little bit longer, but I'm going to wrap this up for this week. We'll do it again next week, next Saturday, same time, give or take. So, Lee's talking about the 2010 version of the movie of the Wolfman remake. They made him too invincible. I remember the Wolfman movie was not one of the worst ones. I remember looking at it and saying it was, if I remember correctly, they took it pretty seriously. I saw it in the movies. Um, I remember it wasn't as bad. Like I hated the Mummy, Brendan Fraser, and but it wasn't like that. I hated also. I watched some of Van Helsing, and I couldn't stand that either. Have I ever seen a movie on the 3D TVs? No, I've never seen a movie on one of those 3D TVs. No, never have. Never watched them. What's the theater you saw A Hard Day's Night in? It was a theater called the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, New York. Yeah, Jill says I would not glue a Blu-ray disc and put it in a back in a player. Gary says the new Invisible Man wasn't a remake, but was excellent. Yeah, I heard the new Invisible Man was good too. All right, I'm gonna end this now. I thank you all for being here. This was really great. A lot of questions. Tiring because if you do it at a time when there's going to be a lot more traffic, it's a lot more to cover. But yeah, so once again, I'll just say thanks, and I'm gonna try to do it again. I'm gonna try to make Saturday the regular day. It's going to be somewhere around 4 p.m., give or take 3, 4, 5 p.m. Eastern time, around there. Um, Please tune in to Talk More Talk again. Subscribe to Talk More Talk. We're going to be talking about the Paul McCartney Conan O'Brien appearance, and we're going to be talking about his new book, Eyes of the Storm. That's going to be on Monday night on Talk More Talk, 9 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to subscribe to my movie channel, which is called Mayo's Movie Marquee. So thanks everybody, and also don't forget Gary's comics and movies is going to be there. We're going to do our usual. If you like the live stream, just about movies and TV. If you just movies and TV, not Beatles or anything like that. Over on my movie channel, subscribe and get the notification button. Hit the bell, and there will be this weekly chats on that too, which is usually Tuesday, Tuesday 7:30 p.m. You'll see the advertisement on it over there. I advertise it over there when it's coming. All right, everybody. See you soon. Lots of fun here today.